Good evening, folks. Tyson Anderson here. Let's go ahead and start talking some dogs. So glad to have Mr. Mel Faust on tonight. Got a little David Ball, Louisiana Melody. Don't rock the jukebox, baby. Yes, sir. Come on in here, share this post, like it, share, invite your friends, invite your followers. We're talking dogs a little bit tonight, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, come on in the room, come on in the room. Come on, how many of you all know how to do-si-do? Good evening, folks. How you doing? Anderson Beagles here. I'm so glad to have Mr. Mel Satsuma Faust on tonight. Come on in, folks. Come on in. Come on in. Let's talk some dogs, brother. Time is 6:58. 7 o'clock. We're going to bring them on in. You know how we do. We're going to let it build up a little bit. Mr. Mason, how you doing, buddy? I'm glad you're on here. Miss Culbertson, how you doing? Chris White, how you doing? Eric Clemens, how you doing? Come on. Miss Amy, how are you? Eric Clemens, you still running them dogs? Come on, boy, I feel it in here. Sean, the Share Queen is on the way. Come on here now. Louisiana Melody. Only sport, Blake Fleener. Only sport. Pro playing sport, that's it. Purple bag, get all you can. Oh yeah, I'm feeling mighty fine. I tell you, I want a fried chicken dinner with gravy on the taters. Yes, sir. Come on here. Beagles. Beagles trump basketball any day. Come on in here. Got about another minute. I'm going to call the man himself. See if we can't get him on the line. I'm telling you, I'm feeling mighty fine, folks. I tell you, hold on to God and God will hold on to you. I ain't a preacher for the evening, but come on in here. Well, you know, I got a whole fast to Carolina Matt Glomsky. I don't even know if we're in it or not, but hey, I'm a Carolina fan to the day I die. Come on in here, folks. Yes. Come on, David Ball. A little country music. Mr. Riddle, how are you, sir? Come on, don't rock the jukebox. Listen to that quarter drop. David Ball, folks. David Ball. Time is 7 o'clock. We're gonna go ahead and bring Mr. Faust on in. Louisiana Melody.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. Faust, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, you?
I'm good. I can't complain whatsoever. I've got you on live. They held me up a little bit at work today. I didn't get a chance to do my test call, but I guess we're on here, so I guess we'll go ahead and roll. How's your evening going so far, sir?
It's fine.
That's good. Now, as I was telling you the other night, you can pretty much go about it however you want and just flow as free as you want. Say whatever you want. Can't nobody block you. They can't stop you. This is our feed, and I'm going to let you roll with it. If you'll tell the people a little bit, not so much about you, but about you, of course, where you got your start in Beagles, how long you've been in it, your first Beagle, however you want to go about it, Mr. Faust. The floor is all yours, sir.
Well, you all ask a question if you got something you want to know. I'll try to. Are you ready to start now?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess I'll tell you how I got to start Beagles, but the main reason I got into Beagles is I was a bird hunter when I was young, and up into my 20s, and when the birds disappeared from Louisiana, I was all the way off. about them. Basically, not really knowing anything about rabbit dogs. When I was a kid, we killed them with a headlight. But anyway, I figured any old beagle would run a rabbit, so I went to get beagles, and that didn't prove to be too true. And I was just looking for something to kill a rabbit with, so I found, I was buying anything that looked like a beagle, and not knowing what I was really looking for. But anyway, nothing seemed to suit me, and finally, after some period of time, I can't tell you, and this goes back probably 40 years ago, but I somehow or another, I found some registered dogs, and I got to going through them, and I liked them a little bit, and met some folks that had some good hounds, and anyway, just kind of grew off in it, but I still, after several years, I still didn't really know much about rabbit dogs, because I was still a bird hunter by heart. But anyway, I had a blind friend of mine that I met who had registered dogs up in Arkansas, and he told me about a guy up there that had bred a dog to a field champion out of Michigan, a mountain king bred male. I don't even remember his name right now. But anyway, I called him and ordered a pair of pups out of it, and I went up there and visited with that blind friend of mine. The gentleman that had the pups, him and some of his friends, we went and run dogs. They ran dogs. I sat on the tailgate of the truck with my blind friend. Anyway, that day, I guess it was, next morning or something, I went to pick up a pair of pups, and the guy that I get the pups from naturally had the mother. And I was getting ready to leave, and he had a little, kind of a red-looking female, the mama dog. And he told me they had run her the day before, but I never went out there and looked at her. But the long story short, I liked her looks in the pen, and he said his daughter going to college needed some money, and she was a little bit too quick for him. So I said, Arkansas is a long way from Louisiana. I said, if you want to sell her to me, it's going to have to be today. I ended up loading her, and she was a real rabbit dog, and I guess, was probably the first real rabbit dog I had put my hands on. I had some decent dogs, but nothing of her caliber. And I wouldn't say she was a trial dog. She was a gun dog. And sometime after that, there was another guy up in Arkansas bought a male from Clarence Warren called Green Mountain Jericho. Well, we had all been kind of friends, and but nothing to do, they called me, and I had to go see Jericho. Well, I went up there and took old Bill, that bitch I bought from up there, brought her back there, and we went and put Jericho in the woods, and Jericho reminded me the way he went hunting of a pointer. He was a big white-looking dog, and male, that's big, and he was a 13-inch male, probably a little over. But he hit them briars just like a good bird dog would, and just never stopped. And me being a bird hunter, I said, now that's what I've been looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I finally saw it. And then I ended up reading that bitch I bought old Bill to Jericho, and ended up with the first Satsuma dog called Satsuma Sid. And that was probably at least 35 years ago or something like that. I don't know. But anyhow. And I guess old Sid taught me what a he really thought I would have a rabbit dog could be, frankly. So I learned from him, and he learned from a little bit from me, and that's what got me hooked. You know? And he, you know, he was a lemon and white dog. But along the way, I decided, well, if I just get lemon and white dogs, I won't have very many. And I disproved that theory, because at one time I had more dogs than any man should be, and it was all lemon and white. So that's, you know, that's basically how I started. And then with him, I got into field trialing, because I thought he was so special, and still do to this day. So that's, you know, that's how I started, and you know, and the rest of it, and you know, I can't give you all the details, but you know, that's where I came from and how I got here.
Now, Mr. Faust, in the midst of all of that, and in the seeing a lot of those dogs, what is it that you was actually looking for, would you say, in the midst of all of that? You know, like you said, the first dog that you saw, you know, that really showed you what a rabbit dog was. I'm guessing, of course, the Jericho dog, and then the Sid dog to follow. How did you know exactly which way you were to go with that once you saw? Well, you know, I see, I saw what I've needed to see in these dogs, and I guess these dogs, so you can say, have set the bar as far as how my stuff is going to go from here on out. As far as I know you wouldn't probably refer to it as a legacy, but you know, us little people are looking and saying, you know, of course, that's exactly what it is. How would you say you knew exactly what it was that you was going to do, and how you were going to breed, and all of that?
Well,
What?
You know, I knew it was in his pedigree, and I was fortunate. I knew some after, you know, when he came along, and then let me back up. You know, when I liken a dog, is heart, brains, stamina, and foot. Now, foot, you know, I like foot, but you don't have to have the speed of a greyhound. But you know, I don't want nothing to fall on the rabbit. I want him running it. And you know, the Sid dog, frankly, I could have took the Sid dog and put him in the woods with his mama and daddy, and either whipped both of them. You know, seldom the dogs mix like paint, but he did. He had every bit of his mama's strong suit, all his daddy's hunt. His mama was tough. She was a tough one. Jericho was tough, but his mama hunted much more. She could jump a rabbit with anybody, but she wasn't very classy to look at when she was doing it. You know, but Jericho and Sid, they just, you know, they were machines. And but like I say, he would have whipped. He mixed just like paint. He had all the best of his mama and all the best of his daddy, and could and all of them trying, he would have still whipped them both.
Now, where do you think that came in at, as far as a lot of that, as far as how it jailed? I mean, not saying specifically which dog in the pedigree behind there, but I mean, I guess of course it just clicked. But which dogs in there were you trying to mainly put emphasis on?
You know, after I've talked to knowledgeable beaglers, and I spent a lot of time up north and talking to real houndsmen. I'm talking, you know, the people that some of them still alive today that I have a great deal of respect for. I picked Clarence Ward's brain. Of course, he's dead now. Frank Rooney, who's still alive, bred some of the best hounds I've ever seen come from up there. You know, I've talked to other people, you know, and through Canada and everywhere, and up in Vermont, you know, the gunners and the trialers that knew Champagne Bucky, you know, if you wanted something tough and plenty foot, you know, and go hunting, you know, and this, you know, Champagne Bucky was the dog to do it. And then if you talk to folks in Canada and some other people that were around back in the old days, East Coast Tremor, you know, everybody said East Coast Tremor was the real deal. And so early on, you know, I tried to find dogs with Champagne Bucky in them and East Coast Tremor, and of course, you know, that's gone. That's, you know, that's watered down. But that was what I looked for early on, and it served me well.
Wow. Now, out of all of that time, I think we were talking the other day, and you said I think Sid was born somewhere around 84. Now, to think, you know, 31 years ago, you know, that's something to keep that line going strong like that. And I love what you said the other night, to keep it going, not just strong and consistent, but consistently lemon and white.
That was really kind of stupid on my part, if you want to know the truth, you know, but I got nobody to blame for that stupidity but myself. But it was a challenge that was fun to me. You know, I guess I put it that way. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't do it any differently today. I wouldn't recommend anybody else trying to do it, because it's really not, you know. For me, it was worth it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it for anybody else.
But
that wasn't about the easiest road to getting good dogs.
yes, sir. And I guess that's the next question that I would probably have to ask is, in the midst of doing all of that, you managed to keep a family of hounds. And then, I mean, I don't want to sound, you know, repetitive, but a solid color, that just validated that you didn't have to go out here and breed to the next hot shot, you know, big name flavor of the month dog. And there's something that you'd say that, because it's almost doesn't make sense when you look at it. You say 31, 32 years later, this gentleman is still producing the same kind of dog, that intense hunt, that, I mean, stamina, everything, a rabbit dog. And then, like you said, not having to have the speed of a whippet or a greyhound, but just the fact that you were still making consistent rabbit dogs that were accountable, and you kept to the color. Now, what kept you in? Now, I know you said stupidity, but what kept you from going and jumping and, you know, taking to this one and taking to that one? What kept you fortified and you know, your mind stayed on what you were supposed to be doing?
Well, let me say this now. What I didn't do, and I didn't buy a lot of them, but I bought all the lemon and white field champion females I could get my hands on. I bought 3 from up north that I know of. Walpole Rosé, Green Flats Toasty, and I'm thinking what the other one was. Gummit. You know this too.
No, you're fine. Take your time, sir. You deserve it.
It's been a long time since I had somewhere else. I'm foolish. Anyway, it may come to me eventually, but there was a third female that I bought out of New York. Was out of Perkins Luther. She was a
Mm.
That female really was that made Sonny famous because Frank Rooney bred that female to him, and I think in 2 crosses they finished all but 2 dogs out of 2 crosses.
Good gracious.
And I thought that they were the real deal too.
Mm. What?
Good hounds. Well, none of them lemon and white, but they was good to tri-colored dogs. Got as good a dogs as ever walked. I can tell you that.
Someone listening, one of the listeners, Mr. Faust, asked the question. They said, did he just like that color, or did he ever like any of the other colors, like red and white?
Well, I had some dogs that I lost when I first got started that were tri-colored dogs, and they was probably as good as anything I ever seen, but some of them, when I turned them loose, they never came back. A couple of them got run over, and that's really what made me move out here to the swamps and do a pen, because off game was getting everywhere, and deer and people, all they wanted was to hunt deer, and I said, if I'm on field trial, I got to have a place that I can train dogs. And for years I ran on the outside. I was working full time, and I'd come home at night. I got off work, get 2 or 3 dogs, or 4 or 5, or whatever I wanted to, and go to the woods and run them and catch them at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and go home, take a shower and a nap, and go back to work the next day.
Mm.
But anyhow, no, I got all the respect in the world for a tri-colored dog. The second dog that I field trial that finished was Satsuma Bucky, and he's a tri-colored dog.
Mm. Wow.
And if I'd have known then what I know today about the game of beagle, because he was a tri-colored dog, the right color, I could have probably made him famous if I just kept running it, because he was a good hound, and he could do just about anything his daddy could do, and he didn't stick out like a sore thumb. A lemon dog has almost got to be perfect to win, because if he makes a mistake, you don't have to know what his number is. He's the only one there.
Yes, sir.
If you field trialing dogs and they lemon and white, you handicap yourself. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't recommend it if anybody else. I want somebody hard-headed as me. So,
yes, sir. That makes all the sense in the world. That makes all the sense in the world. One person asked the question. They said, "Where did the name Satsuma come from?"
Well, at the time, I was living south of a little community called Satsuma. That wasn't necessarily the reason I took that name, but see, it was and in Louisiana, South Louisiana, we have an orange that you can't find anywhere else in the world that I know of. Not in the United States anyway. Called the Satsuma orange. And he was about the color of that orange. I just call him Satsuma Sid.
Wow.
Not necessarily knowing that he was going to be the dog he turned out to be, but and out of respect for him, I named them all. Satsuma something since then. Even a bunch of sorry ones, I might add.
One gentleman asked Mr. Faust, he said, what hound sticks out in your mind from your past the most, and what made that dog special to you?
Well, I've had several that, if you're talking about of my dogs, still, I still think it was as special as they come. I had some other, I finished 23 field champions, and lost 10 or 12 more that would have finished one way or the other. And so, got rid of some when I quit field trialing that should have finished. One did. Anyway, the Mac dog, Satsuma Mac, well, he was an outstanding hound. Mac was he was a lemon white dog master. And he was, a truly outstanding rabbit dog, a super gun dog, just like his grandpa and his daddy was. And, he finished, at Jasmine County, in the days when Jasmine County had 300 dogs at a field trial. And I don't remember how many dogs were in the 13-inch male class that day, but, he got his last win, or he needed some points, one of the two, but anyway, he finished, in small back option at Jasmine County, and running cockpit. And he could run a cottontail as fast or faster than anything I've ever seen, and turn like a cutting horse on it. And he was a special dog, and he produced a bunch of really good dogs too, I might add.
Now, what would you say would be some of the most influential hounds or best hounds? Not so much influential, but some of the better hounds that you've seen from your times past, as far as in your extensive travel. What kind of dogs would you say, or who would you say would be some of the more premier hounds that you got a chance to watch personally?
Well, going back to Frank Rooney's dogs, the reason I met Frank Rooney, I told you about I got started, I bought that pair of puppies off of Old Bill. I had a good friend of mine that had way more money. He had his own company and stuff back then, and he bought a 15-inch male from Frank Rooney called Puddle Dog Corky. And he flew him into New Orleans one day, and he called me on his way home. He said, I just picked this dog up. I had a pretty decent, that Mountaineer King bred male out of Old Bill wasn't no slouch. He was a pretty good dog. Went on to do a license trial. But anyway, didn't finish. I let a friend of mine have him. But it's a 15-inch male. But anyhow, when I watched right off the airplane, I watched Puddle Dot Corky and that male. We put the two of them down. Now, that sucker been on the airplane all day. Never smelled a swamp rabbit in his life. And them two dogs went in the woods and jumped a swamp rabbit. And within 30 minutes, he was whipping that young dog of mine. I could hear. I didn't have to see it. I could hear it. And make a long story short, the next morning, I bought me a ticket to Vermont for the weekend. And I went to the weekend for and that's how I met Frank Rooney, and got some dogs from him through the years and what have you. But I've seen a lot of good dogs run. Don't get me wrong. I've seen plenty of good dogs run. I got a bad memory. Number one, I'm getting old. But I got another good friend in Vermont, Bob Sweet. I think Bob Sweet probably knows more than most people about real rabbit dogs and gun dogs. And Bob has had some 15-inch bitches through the years that I'm talking about were just hard to deal with.
He's a good man.
He's a good guy. I can tell you, Bob is, and knows hounds. He had a little bit of everything. I say that wasn't everything, but he ran 15-inch bitches, and then he judged 15-inch males. So he knew whenever there was a good cross to make, and he had bitches that that set records that will never be duplicated. And I've seen lots of his dogs. I've seen, back in the day, I judged Branko Alabama. I love Wasn't no racehorse, but a real rabbit dog. You know, he had plenty enough foot, plenty enough talent. Yeah, so I mean, you know, there's a lot of good dogs around. I mean, I can't say that. You know, like I said, old Perkins Luther, he was as good as that ball. You know, that was one of Carter's brothers. So, you know, you know, I couldn't, you know, I just couldn't, I don't remember them all. I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen a lot of good hounds.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I wouldn't whip them now, but sometimes, you know, lots of times they would need a spanking, you know. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, in the midst of keeping your family of dogs, how important was line breeding to you, Mr. Faust? Did you do much of that?
Well, you know, I believe in line breeding, but I believe you got to outcross to keep some hybrid breeding out of them. And that's, you know, I did it from the bitch side, bringing in bitches. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Most people like to say they chasing the flavor of the moss, you know. But I went and bought field champion bitches and used them on my stud dogs, you know, because I was fortunate. I always had a field champion male or two in the kennel, so I did it that way. But I think you can also, you know, if you think you're the only one got a good beagle or a good strain of beagles, you're a fool, because they got lots of folks got good beagles, you know. And you know, my only thing that was, you know, made it a little bit difficult was, you know, I wanted lemon and white, so I had to. You know, I didn't know anybody else that had a lemon and white field champion male. You know? So you know, and in later years, you know, when I got a male now, a female that I bred that I think, and actually the mama came from Mr. Frank Redding, and I'm telling you, she was a good one. But and we bred her to. Bred the grandma to JWS Lightning, which came out of my kennel. She was out of Mac and Green Flats Toasty. And she produced this, like I say, Viagra to this bitch that came off of those two and got a Satsuma Eagle, which was, I think, is the last dog that I finished. And he was the only male pup, lemon and white male pup in the litter. Matter of fact, he was the only male pup in the litter. And you know, and he was a good one. You know, he didn't back up to nothing. He didn't run every trial he was in, but he damn near was on the bench every time he was in one. And by the time he came along, I basically quit gun hunting, but he would have been a gun dog. But I mean, you know, he was bred to that. They're all bred to be gun dogs, and that's what they all should be bred to be. You know, we don't have the hunting, the place to hunt anymore where I live. Everything leads to deer hunting. And and even if they'll let you run dogs to hunt dogs, you got 3 or 4 weeks after deer season, and that's it. And to me, you know, I don't need a rabbit to eat. I need one to run, so I'm not too crazy about killing them anyway. When I had a house full of kids to feed, you know, I was more, and then, you know, and then they was just getting started in life. A rabbit I could kill, you know, but anyway, not interested. You know, I don't need them to eat anymore. I need them to run. So.
Now you said something, Mr. Faust, that I try to get a lot of people to elaborate on, and a lot of people, you know, Some try to be very diplomatic, some don't, but I know you're going to be a straight shooter. You said something about that they all should be rabbit dogs. That's what we all should be breeding them for. Now, what, as far as, and I don't want to go too deep or I go as deep as you desire to go. That's fine with me too. It's totally up to you. What do you see different of today than you did, let's say, 40 years ago, as far as, do you think that we are breeding for rabbit dogs now? Or do you think, what do you think? And what do you see? What do you, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I still think we got rabbit dogs out there. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have them, but, some people, the competition, they more concerned about trying to get the dog that'll get a ribbon. Well, and I don't have a problem with that, other than the fact that, you got different conditions and different formats and everything else. I think what people need to focus on is breeding the dog, owning the dog that suits them. And it's the kind of dog they want, not the kind I want. That doesn't make any difference. You feeding it, you need to have something that you like. Mm-hmm. And if you start breeding dogs to fit a certain competition, I don't know that that's much fun. I always bred dogs to suit me. And I was fortunate I could go places and find people that like them on some days, Mm-hmm. But if you breeding dog worried about getting some kind of trophy or ribbon or whatever, if that's the only thing you're in it for, you never won't, because this different formats, looking for different style of dogs. I always tell people, find a dog that suits you. And then if you want to go in competition with him, go find a format that he can compete in. Mm-hmm. Don't pick the format and then try to find a dog that fits it. Mm-hmm. Find a dog you like that you take hunting, that you want. Mm-hmm. With the judge, because they change every week. You got to feed the dog every day.
Mm. Yeah. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think people understand how important that is, Mr. Faust. What you just said. How often do you hear of people getting dogs and they're running those dogs, and the dogs that they're running, they're actually lying to themselves because they actually dread to go out there and feed them, but the judges like them. And I remember a time. There was a guy in, I guess we could say, because he's straightforward as well, Mr. Steves, Gregory Steves. I can't remember which one's the older one. I think it was George, Mr. George Steves. And I think, he had a dog. Good
man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir. He took a dog and finished it. And in the midst of finishing that dog at a trial, I think I was coming past, and I didn't get to see the trial or anything like that. And I was looking at dogs. This was maybe 12 years ago, so I don't remember exactly the time frame. But I remember the dog finished, and he said the judges like this dog. He wins, consistently. He said, but he's going to die today. Now, a lot of people in the gallery didn't understand that. They asked him, they said, what are you talking about? He said, he's a field champion. The judges like him. I just wanted to finish him out. But he's going to, when he gets home, I'm going to kill him. People thought he was joking, and he really did.
Yeah, no, I did. I know George well. I'm assuming if he took you that's what he did.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because some people, they will get into a predicament where the judges like the dog. They hate the dog, but they will continue to go on with it because, like you just said, they're chasing ribbons and so forth and so forth. But what are you seeing in today's trials? Here's the big one. What are you seeing in today's trials? And we're not going to beat up on it. I don't want to bring this on and make it seem like we're just negative all the time. But just to enlighten us a little bit from a point of a place of experience perspective, what do you see now in today as far as what's going on, how things are being conducted in the time that you have seen these things evolve and transpire and, so forth? Have we progressed or have we regressed? We went forward or backwards?
Well, I don't think we've progressed. I think, the old days, you know, we had judges that will hunt us, and you know, and really worked at it, and took pride in it, and I still think there's plenty of them like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think both the competitors and the judges today need to spend more time in the woods with their dogs. I think there's too many people running beagles on the internet, frankly,
Mm-hmm.
instead of running them in the woods. And you know, and you know, I think back when I got started, you know, when we went to a trial with a dog we liked, you know, and you know, if it didn't place or win, if we still liked it, we kept it, you know, and maybe we didn't field trial it, maybe we got another one, you know, but you know, because there's a lot of good rabbit dogs that can't place in a field trial, you know, and I'm not gonna throw away a good rabbit dog, you know, because you can't, you know, even though I was a competitor for many years, you know, some of the best rabbit dogs I produced wasn't out on field champion bitches, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They were just out good bred rabbit, you know, bitches that could run a rabbit, but you know, and some of the problems that people complain about today, the measuring this, one thing and another. None of that's new. 35 years ago, they was bitching about the measuring and some of the same things they complain about today. You know, the difference is different people doing it, you know. There's not a whole, you know, George C's been around, you know, longer than me, you know, he can tell you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
he's watched the same, you know, we've seen her repeat the same cycle, and, you know, but, you know, that's just, it's really not, you know, a great, you know, I think, like I say, I think some of these judges we got need to get a gun and go try to kill a rabbit, you know, but you know, we don't have the Paul Burlesons and the Bob Sweets, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
were real houndsmen and no hounds, and there's a bunch of more names of which I could, you know, Danny Kane from Canada, you know.
Oh yeah, Cody McDonald, Jermaine Destraux, yeah.
You know, guys that, you know, knew rabbit dogs, and guys that, you know, judge field trials and judge hundreds of them, you know, and, but, you know, I don't know that, I don't know that. I mean, I still think we got some good dogs. We got a lot of young beaglers that are good. You know, you know, back 35 years ago, we had, you know, I've seen plenty of stuff that was real suspect. You know, and now, you know, even, you know, I might say, you know, I won't mention names, but, you know, downright dishonest, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, from that standpoint, you know, we, you know, it really had that much, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. One person asked the question, they said, well, what is your opinion on too much rabbit?
Too much rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to tell you, of every dog I've raised and finished from field champion and everything I've got in the kennel now and had before, they all have one common fault. And I don't know how to fix it, but none of them run quite enough rabbits for me. Now, I don't know if that's the answer they're looking for, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's no such thing as being too good at what you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I never worked for anybody that come told me, you know, don't do as well as you're doing because you're too good. Everybody I work for was trying to tell me, get off your lazy behind and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the same way with a beagle, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of them I think was mighty good, but, you know, the one common fault is they could run a little more rabbit to suit me.
Mm-hmm. I love it. One gentleman asked the question, said, what is his opinion on a dog walking the fence winning or placing in a trial?
Now walking the fence.
Yes, sir. Dogs, I guess, walking the paths and standing around your feet and winning and placing.
Well, I think it's disgusting. That's a failure in the system, the judges, the people putting the trial on, and you can spread it across a lot of areas. Shouldn't happen. Don't get me wrong. That kind of stuff does happen, but that's and it was probably happened 30 years ago too.
Mm-hmm.
They not, it's the problem of the club and the officers and the people judging. They're not managing a field trial. You got books to go by and rules to follow, and if you follow them and everybody's doing what they're supposed to, that shouldn't happen. So, how you get enough if a dog's walking the fence or not in the race, how you get enough score to place a dog doing that?
Mm-hmm.
If judges do that, well then they shouldn't be hard. You would have enough sense, don't run under them again.
Mm-hmm.
But that is, it's not something wrong with the registry or the rules. It's the implementation of the rules. A lot of people out there.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, I think, because so many people say, well, Anderson, you're used to intensely, going against the grain. Well, it's not so much as going against the grain, it's the ingrown grains that I go against. And that's the thing that I'm after, because, like you just said, the people that's not implementing it. There's nothing wrong with AKC. There's nothing wrong with ARHA. There's nothing wrong with any of these registries that are out here. But the people that are implying the rules,
that's the way that it falls apart. You hire people that can't read. What you expect?
Yeah.
That's basically what you're doing. But undoubtedly they can't read the rules.
Yes, sir.
So, it's not the registry.
Yes, sir.
Not the dog's fault. He don't know that he's sorry. If I was there and mine was doing that, I'd go past the judges if I could pick him up. I wouldn't. But not everybody likes that. But still, you can't blame. You blame, like I say, you can blame the dog and the level rating. Be AKC or UKC or ARHA. Don't blame them. Blame the people that's putting the trial on it. That's where the fault lies.
Yes, sir. That's the highest fault. That's the call. That's the true call. One gentleman asked a question I was getting ready to ask. What is the worst fault in a hound that, I guess to you, pretty much, what is the worst fault that you can see in a dog, personally?
Well, I'm real critical about lots of things, but, a dog that continually goes backwards, to me, is, you can't run a rabbit with that on the ground. A dog, I can't stand a dog that quit, but he won't keep you from running a rabbit if he quits. But a dog that wants to turn every check around and go the other way, now he can keep you from running a rabbit. That would have to be way up, in my job. I hate a quitter. I can't stand a dog that goes backwards. I don't like a dog that won't hunt. I'll get rid of any and all of those things, and rapidly.
I love that, because I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and I told him, I said, brother, I said, and he may get me for saying it, but it's all in love, sir, if you don't hear. I told him, I said, for a fact that the dogs you have, they're not all that. And if that's the case, if you're really running them, if that's the case, then you need to get rid of them. And I know he noticed he still had them, and I said, what are you waiting on? And he says, well, I really like him. This one got a good mouth. This one got that. I said, yeah, that's true. I said, but that's just going to be a hindrance to you. When you get rid of a dog, Mr. Faust, and you get ready to take that dog out of the equation, you said you get rid of it immediately, or I think you said quickly. How important is it to someone, as soon as you realize Culling's natures and Culling's mannerisms, do you hurry up and get rid of that dog? Or let me ask you like this and then go back to that. At what point do you give that dog his or hers space, or what is the grace period on that dog in your eyes to continue the faultiness, or to either eliminate the faultiness on, you running that dog or putting fur in his or her mouth? What is the grace period?
Well, it depends on the fault and the age of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
I almost have no tolerance. Once, if I see a dog go backwards once, I may wait till I see it again. I'm not talking about a dog that might turn a line around and go back 4 or 5 yards. I'm talking about one that, turns it around, goes back to where they jumped it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my goodness.
Sung in every breath on it. I've seen lots of really good dogs that are, in the heat of the battle will turn around and go, maybe 4 or 5 yards before they catch themselves,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see him doing it on every check. But now, if once a year I see him do that, I'm not going to get rid of him from going 4 or 5 yards, and I don't see it again for another year, because I've seen lots of really good dogs make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But now he turns, a line around and, like I say, runs it back to where they jumped it. Well, I don't need to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing. If a dog don't hunt, won't get out from under your feet. Well, changing his food is not gonna make him go hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And if he quits, ain't likely changing his food gonna take that out of it. So I was telling somebody the other day, back many, many years ago, I had some young friend up in Vermont, a 13-inch bitch was as good as a lemon and white bitch, the only one I never bought. Young kid had it. I wouldn't buy it from him. Wouldn't try to buy it from his daddy, but anyway. She was an international field champion. Well, I bought her mama and bred her to the same male she was off, made the exact same cross. Raised a 13-inch male, which is my favorite. That's been my love since I started, 13-inch male. And had a male out of it that I'm talking about perfect 13. Could run a rabbit with, one time he was 10 months old, run up with old dogs, because we ran them all together back then. And if you wanted to make a mold of the perfect 13-inch male, you'd have used him.
Mm.
And when he was about 10 months old, every now and then he'd walk out of a rabbit race. He'd have a bad shit. He'd come to the road and wouldn't go back. I told him one day he did that. I'm going to give you to you a year old. I said, if you do it, when after you're a year old, that's going to be your last day on this earth. And I was running with 2 friends of mine. We had about 15 dogs out there. And they'd been running for an hour or 2 and had lost right on the side of the road. And I seen him, of course he was lemon and white, I seen him coming toward the road. I eased over to my pickup truck, opened the door. About the time he got in the road, them other dogs picked the check, he stood up there and looked at him. Well, I can tell you this, he didn't go home with me.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and I would do it to any and every one I see do that.
Yes, sir. Same here. Same here. But some people say that that's too critical, say you're too intense, but that's not the case. You're absolutely right. You're doing what I like to call, what my grandfather liked to call in bird dogs, damage control.
Exactly. You don't give that to nobody. They don't sell it to nobody. And let me say this, I've raised enough beagles where I can tell you, there's very few truly outstanding beagles come around. Now, there's lots of good rabbit dogs. But, if you're looking for something that can go out there and whip a bunch of good rabbit dogs and a few more outstanding ones, they'll stick. And to think you're going to take one that's got a serious fault and make it good enough to do that, well, you're just kidding yourself.
Mm.
And I don't think you have. If you want really good dogs, I don't care what bloodline they are, you got to cull them severely.
Mm.
I tell people, and I've told people for years, when I go in the woods and watch my dogs run, I'm looking for a reason to get rid of something. Not to make no excuse for it.
Mm-hmm.
Show me something I don't like, because I will move you down the road, one dead or alive.
Mm-hmm.
And even, and that's the only way you can get there. You can't, I don't care whether you're iron breeding or breeding to the slave of the moth, whatever you're doing. If you're breeding something that's got faults in it, you expect that, you would take something you got a fault and take it to somebody's good stud dog, and you expect him to fix it all. That's not being realistic.
And then blame the stud dog if he doesn't fix it all.
Oh yeah, by all means. Don't admit you brought a piece of junk over there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dog ain't no good,
One gentleman asked Mr. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Faust. I was gonna say, one gentleman asked the question, says, what about T-boning a track that has not been ran and goes the wrong way?
As long as he don't go very far, he corrects himself, I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no perfect human being, and there's damn few, but there's never been a perfect beagle, so to expect one not to make mistakes, you're being a little, you're fool. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Overly critical. Overly critical.
But like I say, in some mistakes, there's a difference between a mistake and a genetic fault. If it's a genetic fault, if it goes backwards every time you have a loss, goes through the wood and barking all over the place, and there's just a lot of, there's a whole lot of things you can put under the head of genetics. You can't fix genetics. You got what you got is what you got, and I think I've looked at enough of them to feel comfortable when I say that.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. I don't think it could be argued with.
And then you're taking something like that and running it with some young dogs or other dogs or whatever. Well, now you're training them to do something that they not genetically programmed to do. Or expecting them to fix that one of the two. Neither one's gonna work.
One gentleman asked Mr. Faust, says, what do you think? I guess you spoke to him, I think it was Chad Coe or Jack Coe, and Mr. Scott Calkins said that you told them something about Buddy's Iron Eagle. Said he was really a nice dog. They said that they wondered if you really felt the same way today, if you still had the same feelings today about Buddy's Iron Eagle.
That was, I really don't know exactly who. Buddy's Iron Eagle was a dog.
Buddy Whitehead.
Yeah. If I said he was good, I don't know why I would have changed my mind today. I hadn't even thought about the dog in 10 You know, if he didn't produce something, you know, maybe that, you know what I'm saying? Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe something.
Yes, sir.
You know, I don't. But you know, I remember the dog basically, but you know, I mean, that's been a long time ago, and I don't, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One gentleman asked the question, said, what are the most important traits you look for when making a cross?
Well, if I'm gonna make a cross, I wanna maybe try to fix something. You know, no dog or human is perfect, but when you breed two of them, if you can, you want to try to get close to perfect as you can. So you know, I'll try to add something or take something away. You know, based on how a pair of dogs run, really. You know, and you know, and my little bit of knowledge of what's in their pedigree. But that's still, you know, that's just, you know, people, you know, what you would really like to do is, you know, is breed dogs like you would mix paint. You know, when you mix two colors, you know which color you're going to get. Breeding dogs, there's so many possible combinations in the genetics. It's very seldom that really happens. That you get, you know, the Sid dog I started with, that was one of the very few times that it worked perfectly. You know, he had the best of the parents, and you know, and then you put it together, you know, it made him special. But you know, there was one other, a little female in the litter that was just about as talented as him, and the rest of the dogs were good dogs. You know what I'm saying? They were really good rabbit dogs, but you know, there was nothing in that litter that mixed like he did. You know, he had, like I say, everything good about his mama, everything good about his daddy, and but you know, most of the time when you breed two dogs, you know, it's really just a crapshoot. You know, better to breed two good ones that are very, you know, that you like both of them. I guess what I'm saying. And when you breed extremes, you know, a very slow dog with a slow pedigree to a fast dog with a fast pedigree, you might get one you like. Probably can't reproduce it again, because now you still, you know, you got there's two sets of genetics in them. Well, and I've seen that tried and done. You know, you're better off breeding, sticking close, you know, sticking to a style of dog that, you know, that you like. And again, you know, I may not like it, but I'm not cheating it. You know, breed what you like. That, you know, people, you know, if you try to suit a judge or format, I wouldn't recommend it. I would go find me some beagles that I liked the way they ran and they suited me. And you know, and if I wanted to compete with them, we got plenty of formats out there now, all kinds of shit. So go find one of them that you can. You don't have to run AKC or UKC or ARHA. They probably 2 or 3 more. You know, go find something the dog that you like fits in, and you kill rabbits with it. That's the other part. To me, you know, what the hell I know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that. One gentleman down toward your way says, what did you like about Sadie 2?
Sadie 2, I liked her look. She was a good-looking 15-inch bitch. Could jump and run her own rabbit. Didn't have one competition gene in her body. If you only had one dog and one bullet and you had to kill a rabbit to feed your family, you'd want to go to the woods with her. But you know, she didn't care one thing about competition. Good bitch, bred good, look good. But you know, and well, you know, let me put it to you this way. You know, when AC Lloyd's fact. You know, she'd have played hell getting a ribbon with on 6 dogs in the class.
Mm-hmm.
But a rabbit dog, as good as you ever want to see. She had a sister, a little mate sister that we lost before we ever put her in a trial. I gave it to my brother-in-law. Had she lived, she'd have been a field champion so easy it wouldn't even been funny.
Mm.
But Sadie she was just, you know, the reason Fletcher ended up with her. He called me one day. I had a pen full of dogs and a few trial dogs and a whole bunch of rabbit dogs. And he told me he wanted one dog he could go to the woods with and run a rabbit. He wasn't interested in field trialing and none of that. And he wanted a big bitch. And I told him, I said, I don't know if you know what you're talking about or not. I said, but I got exactly what you're talking about. I said, this is not no trial dog. I said, but a rabbit dog deluxe. And I sold it to him.
Mm.
And, and of course, she turned out to produce some mighty good ones, bred to Beagle.
Mm-hmm.
We bred her to a male that I had here the first time she was bred. And got a litter of puppies that were just as common as dirt.
Mm.
And I give Fletcher all credit in the world because I can tell you, I would have never dreamed to send her to Viagra.
Mm-hmm.
It was all him. I had nothing to do with it. I'm going to be frank with you.
Mm.
He's the one that had the sense to make that break.
Mm.
And as they say, the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. Now, one gentleman asked the question, said, how many litters do you believe in breeding a year, Mr. Faust?
Well, back 5 years ago, I would breed 5, 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I breed one, I'm breeding plenty.
Mm-hmm.
But at one time, I bred a lot of them, and I had some good bitches in and what have you. But anyway, but I was younger and trying to get somewhere, so I bred, and I had to breed plenty because again, I was trapped in one color. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a good enough breeder to breed one litter a year and get 2 or 3 field champions out of it.
Mm-hmm. But still, breeding 20 to 30 females a year, averaging, let's say, 6 puppies a year, each litter, 180 puppies, you didn't do that.
I never, like I say, I probably, back in the day, when I was breeding plenty, I was breeding maybe 5 or 6 females a year.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like I say, I breed very few now. Don't need a lot of dogs. Don't want a lot of dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
But like I say, even when I was breeding plenty, I produced a lot of good dogs, and other folks finished them and what have you. But I produced more just regular rabbit dogs than I did field trial dogs, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Now you. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Faust. I'm sorry. I hate to keep cutting you.
Go ahead.
You said something. Now I know we went over this a little bit earlier, and I guess they probably didn't hear what you said. But speed. One person said speed and or control, or and the percentage of each. Would you rather have the speed? Would you rather have the control? And I'm guessing they're saying as far as a good blend, the percentage of what of each.
Well, let me start off by saying I don't like a slow dog. I love a dog that can get on the front of a pack of dogs and run them to dick if possible if you leave them there long enough. But I expect that one that's on the front to be able to turn too. And if that's if they fast enough to stay on the front and they running over 6 truck ranks, well, I don't need him. You got to be able to turn. Now, I've had all different speeds, and I'll gladly take one that's not quite as fast. that can, run up and, the top 3 or 4 dogs and chop them out, chop their legs out from under them when they miss it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll feed them all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I like them, I love them, but now my favorite is one that can just get up on the front of a dog and say, come on here, come with me.
Mm.
But now, again, I never had the trouble over them like that one time either, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that. But also, I've had some really, really talented dogs that, they didn't live on the front of a pack of dogs, but they could stay close enough to where if that one on the front made a mistake, they can make him look like a fool.
Mm.
So, I mean, it takes all kinds, and a lot of it's got to do with the game you're running, the conditions that you're under. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
The fast, the medium speed one, they didn't. None of them. They don't win every day. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you keep them out there, they'll, the conditions will be right. Little luck goes with them. They'll get what they deserve eventually.
Mm.
I tell people all the time, my favorite dog has got the speed of a greyhound, the nose of a bloodhound, and can turn like a cutting horse.
Mm. I like that. Yes, sir.
Let me say this: hard to find them.
Yes, sir. You better believe it. Now say that one more time for those that didn't hear it, and if they did hear it, so that it'll sink in. The speed of a greyhound, Lord have mercy.
Speed of a greyhound, the nose of a bloodhound, and can turn like a cutting horse.
A cutting horse.
You ever seen a cutting horse work cows?
I don't think I have.
Sometime watch a rodeo and watch what a cutting horse does when they working cows.
Mm. Man, I like that. We're gonna have to bottle that, Mr. Faust. We're gonna bottle that.
You boys with computers, you can probably find something on a computer that will show you a cutting horse working, working cows, and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yes sir. I like that though. I tell you, that's rather all right to me. One individual asked the question, says, what dog did he breed that what dog did he breed that came the closest to the perfect rabbit dog for him? Would you say see it again?
I'm going to tell you, I've been fortunate. I can honestly say I had more than one, I think, that were pretty close to perfect rabbit dogs. The Sid dog, for one. Bucky, for one. Mac, for one. I had a bitch years ago. I think her name was Judy. A 13-inch bitch that she was probably as good as I've ever looked at. I've been fortunate that I really had some dogs that were, outstanding dogs. And let me say this, and if you're going to trial a lemon dog, they really got to be pretty damn close to having no faults, because I always kid them judges. I said, now if you can't read the number on them, if you see mine making a mistake and you can't tell what number it is, if it was a black dog out there, you couldn't read the number. But if it's a yellow dog out there making a mistake, it's the only one in the class. Well, you get the benefit, you get the mistake charged to you. So I mean, when you feel trialing lemon dogs, they got to be almost. I mean, there's no such thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I had dogs that were perfect or fault free, because I'd be lying to you.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to be. They got to be really special. To get by. If you out there with 30 tri-colored dogs and blue ticks and every other color, and you got the only lemon dog out there. They only got to see it one time, and they know what the number is. So if they see it make a mistake, if it would be a black dog, they wouldn't know who did it. It's way off. But if it's a lemon dog, they know exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So they got to be
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes, sir.
there's no such thing as a perfect dog. But I've been fortunate, and I really feel fortunate that I've had some that I would really, and they didn't win every field trial. They didn't place in every field trial. Don't get me wrong. But if you went and watched them run, they were impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, you answered this question earlier, but I guess they chimed back in again. It says, what does Mr. Faust think is more important, breeding an outstanding gyp to a decent stud or an outstanding stud to a decent female? In other words, when breeding, is a great female more important when breeding than the stud?
Wish I had that answer. I guess I would answer it by saying, you don't want to breed anything that's got glaring faults. And if you're breeding for some particular type of dog or style or whatever, you're better off breeding two dogs that pretty much either have that style or have this bred that way. Because you're subject to get the genetics. You will get the genetics behind it more so than the style that you're looking at. I always tell people, if you find a dog you like, then look at his pedigree. If his pedigree matches the style, then you have something. If you find a dog you like, and the pedigree doesn't dictate that style of dog, when you go to breeding it, you're going to get the pedigree. You ain't going to get the dog.
Come on.
So if you read any books on what's the combination of genetics and dogs, the genetics, and then you throw in the possibilities of what you can get, you're in the casino throwing money away, It's hard enough to breed good ones when you're breeding to good ones that the genetic matches their performance, and I guess that's would be what I look at. I don't worry about a dog's pedigree as much as until I see it run, and if I see a dog run I don't like, I want to see his pedigree too, to make sure I don't get another one like that.
Come on, Mr. Faust. Yes, sir. Bring it on through the pipeline, sir. I'm telling you, I love it. Yes, sir. Mr. Givens asked, what do you think about guys breeding true Satsuma dogs to Deep South SPO style dogs?
Hey, they're dogs at the money. I mean, I think this America gives you anything you want. Can I tell you what you're going to get? I have no idea, because that's what you're doing. But I just got through talking about you're breeding two different style of dogs, and the pedigrees matching the style. Now, which one you want? It's seldom. Like I said, the sit dog looks like paint. But both the dogs, the mama and the daddy, were real rabbit dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the daddy was a little flashier, and a little more dynamic when he hunts. But he wasn't no better rabbit dog. In fact, I'll be honest with you, on a swamp rabbit or a cottontail, see his mama could whip his daddy. So but I've never been a fan for. I've never done it, and I've seen. I can tell you about another dog I saw bred here years ago. The female was out of a Michigan hair-bred dog, and truthfully, she came down here. She was a cull. I had a dog jockey here, bred her to a slow skull fault dog. Produced a male, and then went on to become an international field champion. And a good one. I'm talking about he was everything you would want in a dog. I can't tell you how many times he was bred and it never produced a field champion out of him in any format. So, that's what happens when you. I'm not saying you can't mix them and get one that will, go somewhere and be what you want. But when you try to, produce some more out of it, your luck's not going to be that great. It's hard to breed good dogs doing everything right. When you rely on luck, you really, you're stretching it. Your way, it just don't happen. It don't happen often enough to be worth doing, in my book. And when I never was in the stud dog business, still is not today, and don't ever intend to be in one. But the reason I wasn't in the stud dog business because if somebody brought me a female or some genetics, a call wanted to breed something, and I asked what was out of it, and I didn't like it. I wouldn't breed my dog to it. And that was my prerogative. This is my dog. I breed it to who I want. I wasn't in the business to make money on them.
Yes, sir.
I go to work, make more money than you can collecting stud fees on beagles. I could. Anyway. But that's my opinion.
Well, that makes all the sense in the world because I think in doing so, again, damage control. So many people say, well, I'm going to open this dog up to the public. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He's a field champion. Make that money. I could breed 20 females a year, 50 females a year. I'm like you. I'd rather go to work. If I got to pick cans, flip hot dogs, be a greeter at Walmart, and put the wheelchairs back, I wouldn't care. Because, I couldn't, I'm telling you, I couldn't agree more. Now, I never seen you run a stud ad. I'd never seen any of that. Now, I'm pretty sure you let people breed to you on a private note that you knew the dog personally, maybe gun hunted over, seen it, something like that. But I never seen you run a stud ad, and I'm appreciative of that because, you're the type of person I want to gauge and seek after as far as in my dealings and how I conduct mine because I have, several males here that I've tried to let people get some of and so forth, but dead and alive. But in the midst of it all, I thought about it and I said, you know what? People like such as yourself and some of the gentlemen you called, earlier, I said, I think I'll just hold off. And I'm telling you, I'm so appreciative because I think that had a whole lot to do with, people being able to say whether or not they've had a cull out of the Satsuma or they had a nice dog out of the Satsuma. I haven't heard a lot of people saying, oh, I've got a lot of culls. You very, 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 very seldomly see a Satsuma dog that you bred and came from you up on the board or up on the, forum or something like that. It may be something that come down the pipeline, but directly from you on the board, I haven't seen it. And I've been to Beagles a little bit of time, not as long as you, but I haven't seen it. And that shows me that you did something right. And that's why I definitely had to have you on here tonight because it makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world, and I'm appreciative of that, Mr. Faust. I want to tell you that I'm very, very appreciative of your sticking to it. No matter what the color was or what you chose to do, I think you did something and I think you really inspired beagling because a lot of the people that we hip to and cling to and we call, top breeders, and I won't dare get on all of that, but in the midst of it, your percentages is what I love the most. The percentages, okay, 23 field champions that you was breeding, like you said, the amount of dogs that you was breeding, but you were producing rabid dogs consistently. And then the ones you felt were capable and well able to go to the trials and be trial dogs, you trialed. Not to say that some couldn't have made rabid dogs, trial dogs that were rabid dogs. You just pushed the envelope on the ones that you said to yourself, these are the ones that I would say would fit the scope of a trial dog.
Well, that's right. Yeah, and then I was fortunate enough for whatever reason that I've always been. I think I've always been able to look at a dog and evaluate it in a way that this dog can be a field champion. This dog can go get a few ribbons. This dog is a hell of a rabbit dog, but it's not. It's not going to be a field champion, and for the most part, I never took a dog to a trial unless I was pretty well convinced it would be a field champion.
Mm, 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 mm.
And, that was just me. I'm not. Everybody that knows me, including my wife, will tell you I'm a little bit different.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One gentleman asked a question, Mr. Faust. He said, "What are your thoughts on breeding field champion to field champion?"
I've done it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And produced some more field champions, and I've also produced some of the sorriest suckers you ever want to see.
Mm.
So, again, the possibilities are endless,
Mm-hmm.
It's, I always believe in breeding good ones to good ones. So if you got 2 field champions, that's what you would think that is the way to do it. And I've had success with it. Don't get me wrong. I got some dogs that they are 2 field champions, but it's damn sure ain't no guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Ain't no insurance on it.
If it was that easy, we'd all have them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You wouldn't see a dog in a field trial unless it was out of 2 field champions. It's that easy because there's plenty people making them breedings like that. Not just me,
Yes, sir. At what time do you like? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Faust. I was gonna say. At what time do you like to start your puppies? Getting them in the woods, packing them. How would you like to go about, getting them ready to be a rabbit dog, and then fast forwarding on to how do you like to prepare to get one ready for trials that you do see could be possibly fit for trials?
Well, back in the old days, and I still think we were better back in the old days now, since we've got so smart with starting pins and all this stuff. Back in the old days, we'd go in the evening and we had plenty of rabbits in the wild and walk puppies down the road, and they'd start, and we'd start them, we start them 5-6 months old, and we would put them, we'd pack them right up with some, maybe old bitches, and by the time they were, depends on it physically, but if they matured physically enough, back in the day, when we went to the woods, we had 8 or 10 of us that had a big lease out there. We all had beagles. Some had 15, some had 13s, and some had old dogs, some had puppies. And if you happen to be out there running a little pack of 13s, and somebody pulled up with 7, 8, 15s, and they turned them loose on the other end of the lease, and they heard one and the other heard the other. Before the night was over, we might have 15 or 16 dogs of all sizes, ages, and colors running together. And it didn't upset us back then. We the cream still rose to the top. And now that we so much smaller now. We start them in a puppy pen, and we run puppies. We run one old dog with the puppies, and we treat them like they're made out of glass and they might break. And but I can tell you, back in the day when I started, we didn't have all of that. We got a chance to go to the woods, and pretty much whatever you was feeding, that's what the cream rose to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And but they went to a field trial, they wasn't going to see anything they hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Some field trials was a picnic farm,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, sir. Now, as far as getting...
I'm not telling you can't blow something up like that, but, them again, them truly good ones don't seem to blow up.
Now, how do you like to condition yours as far as bringing them in, and getting them dialed in or whatnot? Is there a certain type of? I'm not telling you to give away the juicy secrets, but
no, I don't have any secrets. I run the dog based on what I think he needs. If you got a real hard hitting dog that can get rough on you, you run him by himself, kind of let him, rest mentally, and let him force him to do his own work. And some dogs, need to be run harder. But I think you got, dogs are like people. Everyone reacts to something a little different. You don't raise all your kids exactly alike. If it was that easy, we'd all have good kids. But we all don't. So you got to, you got to make adjustments based on what you see the dog needs. They're truly outstanding ones, frankly. You can't always screw them up. You can do about anything you want with them. You got to have the condition. If you're running horseback, they got to, be packed up, and they got to get tough. You got to get them in shape, So you got a physical part and a mental part, but the other part of it is if they're not wound tight enough, if you're always worried about them coming apart, or you don't really have the right dog. I've never had dogs that I worried about, coming apart, worried about the pressure. I always wanted the dog that was applying the pressure, not not being affected by it. So anyway.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, we've held you on here for 1 hour and 30 minutes. I definitely appreciate it, Mr. Faust. Unless somebody just piles up with a bunch of questions, I don't want to hold you on here all night. I'm definitely appreciative of it and the effort that you went forth in tonight. I think we are the first people. I'm grateful to be able to get you to come and do anything via social media or to say anything or speak anything on concerning your kennel. I'm appreciative of that, and I'm so grateful, so humbled that you would come on here so modestly and very humbled in your own right. And you're straightforward, and somebody needs to hear this. All those years of experience and losses and lessons and gains and all of that is just so awesome. You got viewers from tonight so far north as Canada, and as far east as England, and as far south as Mexico. So I even got a buddy of mine on here from Brazil. I'm grateful. So, a lot of people are hearing what you have said, and they're listening to what you've said, and they're getting a lot of great feedback. If you had to tell a lot of these young people, one or two things, as far as an up and comer, or as a person that's been in it for a while, and they're sort of losing that momentum, they're sort of gyrating or whatever's going on, or an older beagle that once had some stuff and things going on, going good, is on top of the mountain, but just seemed to have lost it, or anything, however you would say it. What would you say to a person? What would you say to those people, but especially those young people, those youth and young adults that are getting into this thing? What would you say to them?
Well, I would tell the young people, put your computer down and your smartphone down and go get your dogs and go to the woods with them. When I hang up from here, I'm going to get some dogs and take them and put them out for the night. But, I'm certainly, grateful to have visited with you, but there's too much beagles being run on the internet for my taste.
Yes, sir.
I don't care how much you listen to me or anybody else. That's not going to really get you a good beagle or teach you everything you need. You need to go to the woods with them and get in the briars and let the dogs teach you what a rabbit dog is or what one's not. But that's the way we did it before we had all this technology and don't get me wrong. Not that I don't have all the technology. I choose not to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
But I still think that the way you learn about hounds, especially, you can listen to me or listen to anybody that you want, but you're better off going to let the dog teach you what a rabbit dog is. So that would be my recommendation. Go kill some rabbits, and then you'll find out if you got a rabbit dog.
Yes, sir. Man, I tell you, I definitely appreciate the wisdom tonight, Mr. Faust. And Mrs. Faust, she's watching tonight, Mr. Faust. Thank you so much for lending us your husband. You didn't have to, but you did. Let me see. Just the Herring is asking a question. He said, ask how he taught Joe Ixlow or whatever, or what a rabbit dog was. Tyson is classic. He's asking about how he taught Joe Truxilla. Yeah, I couldn't get it out. My tongue was all tied up.
Well, I told him about getting him a good rabbit dog. That's how I told him, and taking and doing away with the rest of the junk he had. I did away with them first, and then I gave him a dog that made a field champion.
Gave it to him. Gave it to him. Man, I tell you. You don't hear people doing things like that anymore. I was telling a gentleman the other day, you don't hear that. And, you know, to see somebody come forward and do that like you, I mean, that's monumental. People don't do that anymore. They don't have that mindset. Everyone's out for themselves, and that level of greed and pride is just taking and striking the people down now. You know, everybody wants to beat the next person, but if we had more people that were real beaglers that did what you just said you did, to shut down everything they had going on, get rid of the dog, the junk that these other guys have, and place in their hands a real rabbit dog. I'm telling you, I think a lot of the junk that we have out here today, it wouldn't be overpopulating and overcrowding the kennels, the trials, or the woods like they do. But I tell you, Mr. Faust, man, that's just, man. I don't think there's anything else to say tonight. That is so awesome. I'm appreciative, sir. Thank you. I wish there was a token of something that we can do, and we probably will be doing it. We want to figure out a way that we can start progressing these little gatherings or whatever around what I call the campfire, because you know, like I said, you guys don't have to do this. People like yourself that have been in it as long as you have, 30, 40 years plus, you don't have to do it, but I'm appreciative, and I appreciate it. I thank you, Mr. Faust. I won't hold you any longer. Thank you, sir. Thank you, and have a blessed night, Mr. Faust. Is there anything? Yes, sir. Okay, yes, sir. Thank you guys for coming on tonight. That's one more in the books. Thank you, Mrs. Faust. I tell you, it was awesome to have him on tonight. And you guys, again, y'all make it happen. So we're appreciative. We're going to end out here with a little David Ball, Louisiana Melody. Thank you, guys. Give those dogs away. Yes, sir. Remember to take a kid hunting this hunting season. Take him hunting. The world's going to change if we do that. That's how we change the world. One kennel at a time. One child at a time. One youth or young adult at a time. Thank you guys. It's you guys that make it happen. I'm grateful. My wife and I are earnestly grateful, I'm telling you. You all are going to start seeing her face a whole lot more, too. I'm going to let her start conducting these things. But we're grateful, you guys. I'm telling you. God has been so good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Herring. Thank you, guys. God bless you guys. You guys have a great evening. I'm going to let y'all end that on David Ball, Louisiana Melody. Thank you, Mr. Givens. God bless.